Hey everybody, Professor Benelou here with the second of 3 short videos explaining Unit 2 discussion board. In this short video, I'll be going over the Bay of Pigs invasion, the Cuban Missile Crisis, as well as the Vietnam War protest topic, okay? Remember, in the Bay of Pigs invasion, the primary document you can choose is a letter written by Presidential Advisor Richard N. Goodwin to President Kennedy regarding the Bay of Pigs. So just to give you background information on the Bay of Pigs, 1959, of course, saw the Cuban Revolution end and a communist government established by Fidel Castro. The plans for the Bay of Pigs invasion, you have to understand, were actually formulated during President Dwight D. Eisenhower's time in office. But Eisenhower didn't have enough time to implement it before he left the White House. So Kennedy inherited the Bay of Pigs invasion. Basically, the CIA was training Cuban exiles. And basically what was to occur was there was to be an invasion by these Cuban exiles at a place called the Bay of Pigs. And it was hoped that once the exiles started the invasion, that Cubans would rise up against Castro and topple him from power. Unfortunately, that did not happen. April of 1961, the Bay of Pigs invasion occurred. Going into the invasion, the U.S. government had promised the Cuban exiles 2 airstrikes. After the first airstrike, the U.S. government's involvement in the Bay of Pigs was obvious, so Kennedy canceled the second airstrike. About 1,200 exiles were taken prisoner and 100 were killed. President Kennedy eventually negotiated the release of the exiles. And again, the primary document for this is a letter written by Presidential Advisor Richard N. Goodwin to President Kennedy regarding the Bay of Pigs. Okay, the Cuban Missile Crisis occurred a year and a half later. October 1962, U.S. military surveillance planes photographed nuclear missile sites being constructed by the Soviet Union within Cuba. Kennedy administration had 2 options in dealing with the information that the Soviets were installing nuclear missile sites within Cuba. Firstly, Kennedy could have ordered an invasion of Cuba, which a year and a half after the Bay of Pigs fiasco, maybe not so much. The second choice was place a naval blockade against Cuba, which Kennedy did. Kennedy placed a naval blockade against Cuba because he was afraid that an invasion would lead to intervention by the Soviet Union. Negotiations during the Cuban Missile Crisis lasted a very tense 13 days. It was the closest we had ever come to nuclear war. Presidential advisor and cabinet member, Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, the president's brother, wrote of his experience being a cabinet member during the Cuban Missile Crisis in his famous book, 13 Days. A great book if you ever get a chance to read it. And it was also produced into a movie. The Soviets ended up removing missiles from Cuba in exchange for the U.S. to promise that we would not invade Cuba. What was not largely known to the American public until fairly recently is that basically we agreed to remove our missiles from Turkey and Greece as well as part of this deal to end the Cuban Missile Crisis. It's funny because during the Cold War, students were always told, well, darn it, we stared down the Soviets and they blinked and removed those missiles. Well, not really. It was kind of a trade-off. But anyway. Okay, so that is the second topic I want to go over. The last one I want to go over in this short video is the Vietnam War protests. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me just explain that the primary document for the Cuban Missile Crisis is a YouTube video of President Kennedy giving a speech to the nation regarding the Cuban Missile Crisis. Okay, Vietnam War protests. Basically, this is a speech by John Kerry protesting the war that he gave in April 23rd, 1971 in front of Congress. Okay? Kerry would go on to serve as U.S. Senator from Massachusetts from 1985 to 2013. He was the Democratic Party's nominee for president in 2004, and he served as Secretary of State under President Obama from 2013 until 2017. But in the era that we're talking about, from 1966 to 1970, Kerry served as lieutenant in the United States Navy, and he was fighting in Vietnam. He had fought in Vietnam. He became very disillusioned after his service in Vietnam, and this led him to join the Vietnam Veterans Against the War. Vietnam Veterans Against the War was a group formed in 1967, and basically it was returning veterans that were now against the war. Kerry was chosen to give this famous speech in front of a congressional committee April 23rd, 1971. So Carrie's speech is the primary document you need to analyze. Okay, that will do it for this short video. The next video, I will be going over the women's rights movement. I'll be going over the Chicano rights movement topic, and I'll be going over the Black Power topic. All right, hope this helps, and see you in the next video.